Okay, I'm starting to stream.
Well, let's get the show on the road then.
Do we have, we don't have Griff or a Willie this morning?
Not so far, but I think maybe we go ahead and check in.
Yes.
I mean, it's 8:05. I usually wait 5 minutes, but
Yeah.
oh, wait, no, Griff told me he couldn't come for the first half hour this week. Pretty sure I saw that. Hold on.
Oh
Let me go
yeah,
look.
he said that to me too. He said it to a bunch of people. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah, so he won't be here for the first half hour. So who wants to get us started with check-ins?
I can do it.
Go ahead, Lauren.
Cool. I'm feeling good. I slept yesterday for the first time in 3 days, I swear. My focus for the week is, well, kind of my focus for the week. I'm going to be a little bit distracted because I'm traveling to Europe on, like, driving on Thursday, flying until Friday. So I'm going to be a little bit out. But other than that, my focus for the week, I'm going to try to finish the circles and the values and the trace launch. Priority for governance, I don't have anything to add there. I'll pass it to Mitch.
Yeah, this week I'd like to close out some issues since I'll be traveling on Sunday. So finishing up any discussion around analytics with Tracer.io, launch Trace, and any communications that need to be done with that. And I'll give it to Matteo.
Hey guys, good morning. Feeling good? Yeah, just same as Lauren. This week I'm going to try to get everything done by Thursday because Europe is happening by that weekend. So for this call, I'm interested in following all of these interesting topics, especially how we can improve the DAO and how we can use the better use of the proposals. Also hiring, that's an interesting topic that I would like to at some points. I'll pass it to Forrest.
Hi, good morning. I'm just returned home to the Valley last night. My mom was here in Costa Rica for a week visiting, so I'm kind of settling back from that. This week, Donna and I are intending to connect and begin with her onboarding into PM with the Give Token Economy Circle, and we'll be kind of working together to get her comfortable. And I'm going to be going through GitHub and getting things organized, and hopefully launching Trace this week. I don't have anything to add for governance. I think we have quite a few things on our list, but definitely would love to talk about the clarifying the process, especially as we've been deep in documentation. And I will. Oh, looks like everyone has gone. I'll pass it back to you, Danny.
I'm feeling pretty good. Well, actually, I have a wounded wing. I'm left-handed in my left arm. I slipped and had a fall early last week, so I'm still having to be gentle with myself. But I'm excited to hear you guys are going to Paris and jealous, but also know that I can't pull that off right now. Proposal processes is something that's hot everywhere I'm working on, so looking forward to finding out from you all what's important so we can get the process documented and clear and posted. And yeah, got a good agenda to go through, so ready to dive in. Is that all of us? I cleared my screen. So. Cool.
I'm just going to point out that we probably don't have enough people for quorum to make any decisions.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm feeling too, is that we can share our perspectives and maybe come up with a recommendation and then put it through the proposal process.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, if I go to forum, does that stay on my screen sharing, or did I only share the one window? Can you guys see this, the forum?
I can see the form.
Awesome. So one of the things, I guess I didn't put this into the agenda, but we have a proposal section. Let's see. And a support section and forum feedback, but maybe we have an open activity to think about what our categories and tags should be. Now that we have our circles, that was just something that occurred to me. But right now, just the proposal section is here. And we've been pretty loose in how we put things up, but that's something that I think would be worth addressing as well. So I'm going to put an item up here.
Are we assuming that we should only have one proposal at a time, or that we'll have multiple proposals?
I would think we'd have multiple proposals going all of the time. As people have ideas and put the proposal up and work it through the advice process. I mean, some of these, it looks like they took a couple weeks. Because
I think just for ease of seeing all the proposals, I'm not sure if we should put them into subcategories, because then they might get lost in the forum. But if we could have a tag on them that would say like active, that would be useful, I think. So then we can just click on proposals section and then we can see everything immediately that's active without having to go hunting.
So what does so active means it's actively being reviewed?
Like we can go vote on it now. And when voting is closed, then we remove the tag.
Oh, I see. So it's an advice process.
Maybe advice process is another tag.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is before it gets to active, it's just an advice process. And then I feel like active, we should probably call that like active voting.
Yeah, vote now.
Yeah.
And we can have another tag that's like, you know, after going through advice process, we decided to like release a proposal, so we're not moving forward with it anymore. Like we have a couple of proposals still live there that are no longer valid, really.
Yeah, so maybe we could put one for closed and one for redacted.
Well, so what does it say in Aragon right now? If it doesn't pass, it's rejected. Do we want to say it was either passed or rejected?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Or failed.
This was something we were talking a lot about the other day, that we should expect that some proposals, most proposals even, might fail. Like, because there's a proposal going through. Having competing proposals is okay. Having proposals rejected is great. Let's just get the ones that are important passed. So then, anybody else thoughts around how to organize better? Like right now, we just, let's see, proposals, support uncategorized. Do you guys, here's a thought that I was thinking. So in sociocracy, there are proposals that can be passed within a circle that don't have to go all the way up to everybody. You know, there's a lot of things communications can decide themselves. But we don't really have a way to do that on Aragon, but I would think that even just here within the forum, it would be adequate. Do you guys see where it would be beneficial to have sections for the circles here, for circles to discuss things first transparently? Or do you think just...
I think so, Danielle. I think, hey, good morning, everybody. Sorry I'm late. I totally think so. I think now that we have these circles, we can set up, and we talked about this a little bit, but we could set up topics as subcategories where proposal is like the parent category. And then when you click on it, you'll have each of the different circles, and then you can kind of dive into the circles. And then just like you're saying, I do think it's beneficial to have these layers, to have some organizational structure so that every proposal to the DAO, every proposal to get an individual paid, for instance, doesn't have to go all the way up to the DAO. But instead, we have these circles. In the DAO, what we can have is we can have circles make proposals to the DAO for funding. And that funding could go, you could use Giveth Trace for this. So we could have a Giveth Trace campaign for each circle. Funding from the DAO go to the Giveth Trace campaign. And then the campaign manager, who would basically be like the circle leader, if we want to have this, could allocate the funding however they see fit to achieve the circle's goals. That way we have much fewer proposals coming up to the DAO, and so it's less fatigue and everything for voters. And then circles have a bit more autonomy to execute on their goals. And the reason it's still decentralized is that the DAO should be able to appoint and replace these circle leaders, basically, and anyone should be able to apply to be a circle leader if they feel that the circle isn't allocating their funding well.
Right. And then the other part of that is, so if the circle proposal doesn't require funding, and there's a lot of proposals that could just be complete right here in the forum, right? They wouldn't actually even have to go to the DAO.
Yes. So other tools like Colony kind of has a better setup for this exact thing, but the idea is that you earn reputation for your circle. So whenever you earn payment in a circle, you're automatically getting reputation. And then now you have this extra layer of governance within the circles where your proposals don't have to go all the way up to the DAO. Giveth Trace doesn't quite have that functionality, but we could have soft governance or something, and the idea that as long as there's some consensus within the circle, that proposals don't need to go all the way up to the DAO. But there should always be an avenue too. If anyone ever feels like that's being abused, then there should be the option to escalate a proposal to the DAO by anybody if they feel like a circle is not acting in line with its goals or its mission.
Yeah, one of the things that's in my mind right now is then, just we're gonna talk next about how long does something need to stay in the advice process. There's probably a requirement that we need to have that any of these proposals that are being discussed and passed within circles also need to be communicated within the community call, for example, so that other people have the ability, awareness that these things are happening and decisions are being made.
Yeah, communication is key. I like that.
I want to clarify to make sure I'm understanding. Is the idea between having these subcategories of the different circles under the proposals category on the forum? So is that to say, this is a proposal pertaining to the community circle, and then you just need a majority of the community members to, you just need to not have any objections from the people within that circle, or you're still fielding it for the feedback from the entire group, but you're really just tagging it as this is a proposal that's for the community circle specifically.
Yeah, so I definitely like the idea of just having some subcategories in the forum for each of these circles. And then one idea that I really like too is that circles should be able to just request funding, and that could be a budget. So let's say a circle has like five full-time contributors. Instead of each of those 5 full-time contributors having to make a proposal to the DAO to get funding, the circle leader can make a proposal to the DAO to get funding for all 5 of them. Plus some other expenses, basically. Then that circle leader should just be able to pay out contributors within their circle without going back to the DAO unless they need more funding. I really like that structure because then it just has this layer, and we can have some level of trust with these circle leaders. And if they abuse the trust, then there's a process for them to get replaced. But we can have much fewer proposals going to a top level DAO, which I think will be good. Then there's this question of, like, what about a proposal that doesn't necessarily need funding? And like that's an interesting question. Like, what is the threshold for when a circle needs to make a proposal up to the DAO? And that I think we could use some good clarity around. And then, I'm not sure we have a clear answer for that quite yet. But I do like the idea of that, we can kind of, for now, give circles some trust, but just make sure that if they are making these decisions, obviously if it's a decision that impacts other circles, that should go up to the DAO. But if it's something that just impacts their circle, they should be able to, execute and autonomously, but make sure they're at least communicating those decisions that they're making at the community calls.
Does that answer your question, Forrest?
Yeah, and for the process, like, how do we know when something has passed, in a sense, if it's not going to a vote? Is it just within a certain window of time there haven't been any objections or requests for clear adaptations?
So circles, we could use the poll functionality in Discourse, and we could just set those rules and say, as long as the proposal's been up for at least 5 days and it has, majority upvotes over downvotes, then it passes. Or we could say, what is that, significant majority, where it's like 2/3 or more. We could choose whatever we want there as that threshold. That's one option for those circle proposals.
The tags we talked about, like that then tells you where they're at. Willie, did you come in when Mitch and when we were talking about having these tags? So you said there's categories. We've got the categories, proposal, subcategories. The subcategories are the circle, which circle is proposing it. And then the status could be the tag to say, is this currently in advice process? Is it up for a vote? Was it passed or rejected?
Love it.
I had a couple of thoughts there just from talking about it. I think there definitely should be subcategories on the forum. And just going to my point earlier that anything going to the DAO.
I'm not hearing you, Mitch. Is it me?
I can hear Mitch. And you, Danny?
I also hear Mitch.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad I'm being heard. So like having subcategories in the forum, but having all proposals easily accessible and just like not over engineering this thing right now for the 15 of us that are going to be actively using it. So I think like having some subcategories for each circle and then having some clear tags that would serve the purpose right now instead of creating subcategories and subcategories. Like maybe eventually we'll realize that governance needs its own proposal section and maybe dev needs it, but it's like right now, I don't think we should make too many layers for the people that we have, but it's good to have the ideas. The second thought was just going around payments. I'm seeing this happening and like when a circle leader proposes funds and gets funding, who's holding the funding? The circle leader? Or they have that like in their MetaMask and then it's up to them to distribute funds?
I was proposing that we use Giveth Trace for that. So basically each circle would have a campaign and a campaign manager. And then we could eat our own dog food and we could Giveth Trace is pretty perfect for holding those funds and paying them out transparently. And people could like make a milestone and request funding from that circle.
Okay.
I feel like there's still an open topic that we've had around now that we finalized the circle discussion and we know we have 3 circles. There was still kind of that thing about does each circle pay the people that are working within that circle? or should all payments simply be handled out of the governance DAO or the governance circle? I lean towards the simplistic approach and keeping all the payments in one place rather than having to have each person and decentralize the responsibility for making payments. I lean in that direction for simplicity and accountability and simplicity because of, it just seems easier for one person who's doing all of that and to have that the payments of people coming out of one place than having that responsibility itself be decentralized to the campaign managers. That's just my feeling based on having done this for both a circle and a campaign and trying to do it for everybody, and we have someone to do it now. So I don't know if that's a proposal that I need to put in, but I've just heard this come up quite a bit as we've had the circle discussion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Danny with this one. It's like the circle leaders might not necessarily be accountants, and in this sense, sometimes centralized payments are better. They're just organized. There's less confusion about who's paying who, and I think there's just something psychological about being dependent on someone else to get paid. You know, if it's from an accountant, I don't care. But then all of a sudden, if somebody is instantly my leader and like I have to depend on them to get paid, it's like, I think there's something in like the group dynamic that changes.
Yeah, I do hear you guys. And I don't have super strong feelings for it. I think, especially for now, it's less important that we have this extra organizational layer. But I do think that as we grow, it becomes very valuable. I think that just like the same, just maybe there's issues with having circles and leaders do the payments. There's also issues with having a single person do all the payments as these circles grow and as we scale, because now a single person needs to understand all the different people that are part of all these different circles. And now there's some bureaucracy. There's now the circle manager who wants to bring on a new team member and get them paid now has to go to this other person to get that flowing to set that up. And we could just cut out that middleman. We could just it's just a couple clicks and Giveth Trace to, you don't have to be a pro accountant to make a payment. So I think, and if there's issues, then we figure that out. And someone says, hey, I didn't get paid, and we make sure they get paid, right? And we figure those issues out, and we make sure that we have circle leaders who can complete payments every month. And I hear that it does put a little bit of hierarchy in there, and that's the one thing that I don't absolutely love about it. But I think in some ways that's okay. I think decentralization doesn't necessarily mean that it's anarchy and it's just like a bunch of individuals all coming to one single DAO, one central point of DAO that makes all the decisions and pays it out. You can have some layers there, and it's still decentralized because the Give token holders still have ultimate control over who these circle leaders are, and if a new circle gets created, and if a circle gets spun down, and all of that. So I don't know if we need it now, but I do think that definitely as we grow, having just one extra layer of this in our organizational hierarchy can be really beneficial. And it'll still be, the circle's leaders' responsibility will still be to carry out the intentions and of the circle. You know, the circle leaders should never be acting out of line with what their circle feels. And if they do, then that's warrant for them to get replaced, for their circle to vote to replace them and appoint a new leader.
Okay.
Yeah, we certainly don't have to rush into it. If we want to start with or continue without this kind of organizational structure and then propose it in the future when we think we need it, I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah, that's the beauty of sociocracy is we know that we need to scale, but we don't actually have to make the decision right now for when we've scaled. We get to make a decision that works for those of us right now and agree to come back and revisit it at either a time threshold or a when we hire more people threshold or something like that. So all I did was note that this is a question, and I'll put more of what we talked about into a forum post for a decision. But the other question that we had that we wanted to take a look at today is how long should a proposal spend in the advice process on the forum before going to Aragon for a vote? And I'm curious if there's anybody on the call who thinks that that should be the same all the time. We just have a minimum that any proposal that goes up on the forum needs to be on the forum and communicated through the Discord channel for 3 days, 7 days, reviewed in a community meeting before it can go to a vote. You know, we have some options there. So I'd love to hear if anybody has a feeling as to what they would like that to be.
You're talking about just specifically for the advice process.
Yeah, so like we just said, for example, we have these statuses. A proposal goes up into the forum and we say, hey guys, I'm making a proposal in the forum. Please take a look at it and add your comments. You have X amount of time. Because
it's advice process, it's discretionary. Like the less time you leave for advice process, the shittier your proposal might be. Like that's it. So I think it should be up to the person to decide when they've had enough advice that they can choose to propose it. They can modify it, but at the end of the day, it's totally discretionary thing, you know? Because at the end of the day, if they don't get enough advice, then their proposal might fail. You know, that's just the simple fact.
That's
and it depends on the scope.
I'm open to that. That's really interesting. I haven't seen a DAO just do that, but I think you make some good points that it's, you know, if you don't leave it up for a long time, then you'll have a shitty proposal and get downvoted. I think maybe some of the reason that there is a minimum time could be that just the risk of malicious proposals, and it gives, and I don't know if this is a serious risk, but it gives basically like whoever is an admin over the DAO, which we probably want. I know you have with Snapshot, but we might not have with Gardens anyways. But it gives admins the ability to like say this proposal is invalid because it didn't follow the format, the guidelines. And so let's say someone, and I guess we have at least 3 days. So it's more of an issue if someone would like to make a malicious proposal to get paid out in 24 hours. And it gives you the ability to just take that away. But I think with conviction voting and the way we have stuff set up, I don't know if we're at risk of that necessarily, at much risk of that. As a DAO where someone could create like a proposal that would get passed in 24 hours and request a large amount of funding. So, yeah, I kind of like
that's dependent on the vote duration, not the advice process.
Right. Yeah,
the vote duration can be set, like we could say like a week, but the advice process can be arbitrary.
Yeah, I think I agree that arbitrary advice process is fine, and maybe it's just something that people say when they create their proposal that I intend to leave this here for this many days.
I think the bigger question is, do we want to set a minimum? Like a proposal process could potentially go on. I mean, it could be something great. We just knocked out the whole thing for the 3 circles, for example, in a week-ish. And that was great. And it was focused. And we talked about it in multiple meetings. And we shared it in Discord. And we moved a good proposal that took a few revisions all the way through in about a week. At the same time, there's some like, what's that other one that's been up there for about, values. The values has already been up there for over 2 weeks, for example, and we're still moving through that. So I think the question is there a minimum that something needs to go through the advice process? And I'll give you an example of why I personally think a week is important. When we have a decentralized team and there's some people who might only come to the Sunday calls, I think it's really important that a proposal be fully discussed in the community call and those minutes distributed for a day or two before enacting something. And also, like from my perspective, I have a lot of projects. I'm often asked to vote on something that I need to know I have a week to get to it and review it and thoughtfully provide feedback before I can vote on it. So, like protecting people's ability to give something the thought that they need and creating that week. And then also, we can have an exception process. Sometimes there's something that comes up that we're all like, yeah, this is important. We need to vote on this right away. We can always make an exception to a rule. But I think it's good to have at least a minimum of a week so that we make sure that we cover a community call and get feedback.
I like a week with an exception, as long as we have an exception process for stuff that needs to get pushed through quickly. Maybe 5 days if anyone feels a week is too long, with 5 days plus the 3-day minimum, that at least would give us enough time to have a governance call before something gets discussed and just voted on and finalized.
Yeah, I agree. I was kind of teetering between 5 and 7 days when you first asked the question, and I was kind of leaning towards 7 just because we're all in different time zones around the world, and I'm realizing, like the Middle East team has different days that they consider their weekend versus us here in Costa Rica. So 7 days feels like it's giving everyone a fair opportunity to review.
Forrest, what do you think of what Willie just said, where if it's got 5 days in the advice process plus 3 days in the voting process, that gives us 8 days of opportunity and makes sure that we hit every meeting that happens in a week before it can pass?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I guess just if someone wasn't able to get to it until like the 6th day and it's already gone to a vote, then they can't really like adapt it. They can only reject or approve. But I guess you could vote to reject something and make a new proposal and just like hope that it got rejected.
Yeah, and that's something that, going back to sociocracy again, we should not be afraid to reject things. If it doesn't feel good and you didn't have the time to review it, that's a cultural thing that we should be comfortable with saying, no, I'm not ready for that, and go back and make the change and submit the proposal again.
Yeah.
Marco, how you doing? You're on mute.
Doing good. I'm just listening you guys, but pretty much distracted, so I don't have anything smart to say at this point.
Okay, just wanted to say I see you there. Thanks for being here. I'll swap to my application to resume. See. Okay, so you think this should be a proposal? I feel like I have enough information and feedback from you guys to write up an advice process proposal and put that up on the forum, and move that through this week. I do think that this payments item should also go into the forum for discussion. I don't know if anybody else wants to own that one or feels strongly about having everybody paid by one person. I mean, I feel like we've got Fresh so we kind of have that in place a bit right now, but
I'm happy to own making that forum post, but I think kind of like we discussed earlier, we're not in a huge rush for it right now. So maybe wait to make it until we feel there's more of a need. We can revisit it maybe at next week's governance call, but I think the vibe I got was that there's not a strong need for it right now. So let's not go through until we really need it.
yeah, well, right now we don't have circle leaders doing payments, so that's not actually even happening yet.
Right. Yeah, let's run with what we have, and at the point that it seems like we're having too many proposals go to the DAO, and that it would benefit to have this extra layer, then happy to propose it.
Right on. Whoops, where did my window go? Ba-da-ba. Okay, so the 3 circle, does anybody else have any strong feelings or thoughts that you want to share around how we use the forum and the advice process and getting our proposal process further clarified and dialed in? I feel pretty confident that I can put together a proposal that will close this up this week. I don't think we need to talk about the circles proposal, and I didn't see any new proposals posted in there. The thing I want to talk about is quarterly Give distribution. So I'm going to hack with Hannah this week and get the praise and source cred spreadsheet updated. And this is the end of the second quarter this year, so we're giving out 4,444. Sorry. I think. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, you gave out 2,222 last time.
Really? Why did I think we were at 3?
Some people already had 1111, and so now they have 3333.
Are you guys able to see my air gun window?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know it's 2,222.
Well, we've been going up each quarter, Mitch. So the very first time we did 1,100 and
Yeah, but I've only got one distribution, and that was the 2,000.
okay.
So I know that the next one
is perfect. All right. So I think that's another proposal that needs to go up and get voted on. Is do we give out the 3,333 Give tokens for Q2? Anybody have any reason or thought why we should reconsider going up and up like this each time? I think we're still good. We might want to revisit that at the end of this year or something right now.
Yeah. And like Willie was saying, like eventually we might just move away from our Give, by next year.
Right.
Depending on the Give economy.
Danny, are you going to make a proposal for which contributors get included in this distribution?
Exactly. So the proposal coming, let's see, where should I put this? Here. So proposal will go up for later this week after I work with Hannah. And what I'll probably do is post this spreadsheet into the Discord. Well, I guess I'll just put it in the forum. Say, here it is. I do feel like, this is a separate topic. So proposal to advice process later this week when the spreadsheet is drafted. Please watch for this and review closely. And then I want to bring up that I had a few people point out some interesting inconsistencies in the PAN payments last month. So as you know, we started that new spreadsheet last month to calculate those months and also switch to a 4-week. So Hannah and Jenny are also going to, as we update it for this new month and the Give tokens, we're also going to really take a look at the calculations for PAN. I have an idea that I think might have those numbers shift, so we would have to make some adjustments with the coming month. But if anybody wants to go back and take a look at that spreadsheet again, I know I got some feedback from Forrest, and I forget what the other feedback was now. Oh, I just realized something myself, that I wasn't sure if the number that we're using for each successive month was taking out the previous PAN. I had a concern that maybe we weren't deducting what we paid from the previous month to reduce the pot for those percentages to be accurate, and I want to double check that. You know what I'm talking about, Willie?
Yes.
Did you look for that? I don't know if anybody looked for it. It was one of those things that when I woke up in the morning after the payouts, it just occurred to me. Did we actually decrease the pot amount by what was distributed the previous month in each successive month's tab? I'd like to think we did, but I don't know for sure we did.
Yeah, it's a good thought. You mean for like the 3 months of payments that went out?
Uh-huh. Yeah. And then do we know much about the Gitcoin grant? I saw that we were 7th on common stacks. We fell out of the top 5 for the first time ever.
So on that note, let's see how we did with this past round. So I can't see anymore because the round's over. I think we got about 7K, give or take, of donations and matching funds. And then that's before all the PAN distributions. We need to get those funds. So Griff and I we haven't needed them because we have enough funds in our Giveth Trace reserves that we haven't really needed to pull from it. So we have a few Gitcoin grants rounds worth of donations that are with the old DAO, the DAO Stack DAO. Some of them are on mainnet, some ZK Sync, and we need to basically get together and it just takes Griff and I, we need 2 people who have rep in the old DAO Stack DAO to build some custom transactions to like claim the funds from ZK Sync and then send them and then make like proposals and stuff to withdraw them and get them into Giveth Trace. So we should probably do that soon, and maybe while we're at it too, we can. I see Chris here too. We can actually, I think, get the Gitcoin grant round tokens out of that, and then we can update our address going forward, and we'll still get the matching bonus. You know how like every Gitcoin grant round they send you a NFT that represents that you are part of a round, and then you get bigger matches in the future. Yeah. So maybe we can just do it once and for all and graduate from that old DAO Stack DAO, get our funds out.
Great. Okay, we got about 15 minutes left. I also heard somebody say it would be worth having the dev hiring discussion. And I have to say, I copied this over from the community notes, and I'm super curious where this Giveth Guardians conversation came from. I'd like to hear more about it. Does anybody want to share around dev hiring?
Sure. So the Giveth Guardians idea is basically that the smart contract development is going to be in-house. So and I forgot to add that to when we were looking over the allocations, we need to have like a Giveth Guardians section because like for smart contract audits and stuff, basically we don't have the dev power to be like super confident with our smart contract development because no one has been hacked before, you know? So it's good. These are good things to have on your resume. So like we should probably like lean on external support for validating our smart contracts beyond just audits, you know, also just like good practices and stuff like that pre-audits. And I have lots of friends that would be down to do that on like a part-time, you know, like once in a while thing that would probably just be happy with tokens, whatever we give them. And that's kind of the idea, is that we just recruit maybe a crew to be on a multi-sig and or something like that. And we just have like, you know, hey, you're a Giveth Guardian, you're a smart contract guru, a Samsung type character. You know, these people would be like Jordy, Alexi, Adria, what's his name? Boki Puba, and I don't know, probably a couple other people that are they've been in the Giveth scene for a long time.
Yeah, agree with adding a line to them for the distribution, set aside some tokens.
Do you want any other auditing outside of smart contracts? Like for documentation, transparency, any of that stuff, like more structure?
I mean, I think we'll want docs and stuff like that, but I think we do have some other line items for like other projects, the next features we want to do, and just for paying contributors. And I think those types of audits, relative to these smart contract audits, we'll be able to just use the existing budgets we have. But these smart contract audits are so expensive that it makes sense to set aside some funds. Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else around the hiring discussion and growing our team? How's those interviews going, Griff?
What interviews?
Oh, you don't have any?
No, Marco's been doing some interviews for UX.
Oh, right on.
But that's it.
Cool. Such as it is. All right. The last item that we had on the agenda was to talk a little bit more about the Giveth values. I'm pretty sure there's a proposal that's up here. So this is one that's been up for about 2 weeks. Lauren, is there anything you wanted to drop in or share on the status of this proposal and any actions that need to happen?
Didn't integrate yet, but it seemed like most people were just like, this is good. But I saw Willie was commenting about altruism, and I didn't fully read it and look into it yet, but that's where it's at. Seemed like most people liked it, but I still have to incorporate Willie's comments or maybe reply.
And I feel like when I looked at it, Kai made a whole bunch of suggestions, and they all seemed really good, but I didn't really see how to. Was there a rewrite that's coming based on that, or?
I actually just directly edited it and included Kai's suggestions.
Oh, gotcha. Right on. So is the values something that we want to put up for a vote? Is there any need for that? Or do you guys think this is something that's fine staying within the circle, for example?
What circle is it? Governance?
Well,
This seems like
I feel like governance.
so this is basically everybody though.
Yeah, it's relevant to everybody. It's what are we, our values are what we're saying that we as Giveth believe in, what we stand for. What are we upholding?
My initial thought is to put it to the DAO.
Okay, well, I can incorporate Willie's comments or go back and forth with him a little. If anybody else wants to review the values again, maybe you can do it soon and then put your comments on the forum, and then I can put up a proposal on the DAO, on the Aragon thing. I'll ask Ashley how to do it.
Yeah. Hey, Lauren, if I'm going to come over this afternoon too.
Oh yeah, that'd be perfect.
All right, I know a few of you came in late. I'm gonna stop my stream. If anything, you didn't get to check in with us, how are you doing today? Anything pressing? What's up for the week? ETHCC, everybody's flying to Paris.
Yeah, it's Paris. It's Mission Impossible across borders. It's TC's launching hopefully on Wednesday before I fly out, and then praise audits. I'm not even. Am I in a call right now? That's cool. I'm not sure what's happening. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, you are in a call, and it looks like we have completed our agenda early. So again, unless anybody wants to have a little 5-minute dance party, I think we can take these minutes to go prepare for our next calls.
Thank you, Danny. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. All right, love you guys. I'll see you a little later this afternoon, Lauren.
Yeah, see you, Danny.
See you guys.